All right, we are live on Facebook and we are recording. I'm Dr. John Mercer, part of the Sports Research Innovation Initiative that we have launched really officially in 2020. We are now in 2021 and really catching some great momentum. We've got co-host Jay Vickers, Business Development Director
Hello.
with the Sports Research and Innovation Initiative. Hey Jay, how's it going?
I'm doing fine. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, and this is our very first SRII podcast where what we are hoping to accomplish is to get researchers to know researchers and those researchers who are doing work around sports. And there's all different areas that across campus that people are doing research related to sport. And I am really glad to have Dr. Brian Schilling as our very first victim or guest on this podcast. So, Brian, how's it going?
It's going great. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's great to have you on. We're in the same department, kinesiology and nutrition sciences. So there's our home team, if you will, which is awesome. And it's great to have you on because you are an awardee of one of our governor office economic development catalyst grants. And we want to hear a little bit more about that, but more broadly, just you as a researcher and some of the work that you're doing related to sports science. So let's start with just some background information. So when did you get to UNLV and what type of courses do you teach at UNLV?
Yeah, I've been at UNLV since summer of 16, and I teach research methods, I teach scientific writing, and I've got a recently developed class on military and first responder human performance. I came from the University of Memphis, where I was for 16 years, which, believe it or not, is not that much different than UNLV. It's a large urban research institution, with a lot of non-traditional student type things. So I think it was a good transition, and I absolutely love being at UNLV.
Well, I've been super glad that you joined the department, and it's been great to have you on that team, and that's super neat. All right, so let's dive into a little bit of the courses that you're teaching. Oh, well, where are you originally from, though?
I actually grew up in Wisconsin, and I used to go to Minnesota, which wasn't very far. I practiced college football. I didn't play college football like Jay did. I just practiced. I played a little bit, but not much. And then from there, I just got into school. I wanted to learn more, so I ended up going to graduate school in North Carolina at Appalachian. Met my wonderful wife Leslie there, who's a sports dietitian. And then we moved all over the place. Ended up in Memphis for 16 years, which that was a long time. And really thought we were going to end up staying there until UNLV came calling, and now here we are. So I absolutely love the Southwest.
Oh, that's great.
Well, I got to tell you, if for those who haven't met you, you definitely look the part when it comes to someone that understands physics of the body and sports science. So you've done a great job of maintaining. Apparently, your time in Memphis, you didn't go to rendezvous too often. So,
yeah,
there is.
Hey, what you can talk about the goods and the bads of Memphis. On the good list, though, is the food, man. You can find some good eats in Memphis.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, so tell us a little bit more about the classes you teach, and then I'd also really am interested in how you got in this line of research that you do.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of fell into research methods when I was at the University of Memphis because I was chairing the institutional review board there, and we just had some turnover in faculty, and I really love it. I absolutely love teaching research methods. And then from there, at that institution, everybody had to do a thesis, and so everybody had to write, but we didn't have a writing class. So I developed a writing class there, and I just saw how important that was. And I've been very fortunate to be able to teach research methods and the writing course or similar writing course here. And like I said, I developed that course on first responder and military human performance because it's such a growing need in the industry right now. I mean, the U.S. Army is looking to hire thousands of strength coaches here in coming up soon. And so having that exposure and really exposure to unique aspects of human performance, and a lot of that's environmentally related as far as the military goes, but also just looking at what goes on in police and fire as well. So I enjoy teaching. I enjoy doing research. So to be able to to teach in your wheelhouse and do both things is really it's a great deal.
So when you use the phrase first responder, just so we're all on the same page, who are you referring to?
Yeah, so we do, it really includes police, fire, and rescue. And a lot of, fire EMS is kind of a gray thing because sometimes they're included, sometimes they're not. So I tried to, you have to keep that course title relatively short, right? So I tried to figure out the most all-encompassing terms I could find, and that's what I came up with.
That's awesome. Okay, so now your research is directly related to this. And how did you get into this line of research?
Yeah, it's interesting. I came from a sports performance background. I was an intern with the Olympic Committee a couple different times, and really dealt a lot with mostly anaerobic sports with USA weightlifting. But I came up with this group of guys that were strength and conditioning coaches. And as I got more into academics, they ended up working in the military. So, a really good friend of mine I went to Appalachian with is with 5th Special Forces Group. I've got friends at 3rd Special Forces Group and 10th Special Forces Group. I had a guy that was with Navy Special Warfare for a while. So these were just kind of friends of mine and colleagues of mine, ended up working that area. And then at one time at my previous institution, I had a graduate student who was a vet, a graduate student who was in the National Guard, and a young lady whose boyfriend at the time, now husband, was on the SWAT team in Memphis. So we started kind of going down that road of research in that area, and it's been very, very rewarding. So like I said, everything I do now is applicable to police, military, rescue, fire.
That's great. It's such important work. I mean, this is such an important population for many reasons. So it's really neat to see the work that you are doing to really help them out. So let's jump into the Catalyst Award. Tell us a little bit about that program and the work that you're doing there.
Yeah, so after I just told you how much it's important to me to do police, rescue, and fire work, I'm doing something completely different for the Catalyst. Right? Yeah. So now, when I came to UNLV is right about the time when the UFC Performance Institute was being put together and being stood up, and they hired a fantastic staff, and I just so happened to know a couple of those guys before they hired them as well. And so I've got an interest in combat sports, and part of that is, especially on the military side, we deal with hand-to-hand combatives as well. That it doesn't happen as much as it used to, but it happens, right? And that's an important aspect of that. So, so I get to kind of blend my interest a little bit in that area. And so I came up with the idea of really looking at interval training and how it applies to mixed martial arts. The work that they've done at the Performance Institute showed that typically in a mixed martial arts match, there's about 8 to 14 seconds of high intensity activity, and then there's kind of a period of time where there's a little bit of lower intensity activity, and that's usually about 2 to 3 times that period of time. And they kind of alternate back and forth throughout that 5-minute round. There's a lot more as far as the weight classes goes and what the pace is and stuff like that. So my basic idea was to say, why don't we develop an interval training app that will replicate those work to rest ratios and kind of maybe stave off the monotony of interval training, even though interval training is a lot less monotonous than other types of training, but also to get a little bit more interaction between the user and the experience. And it would be great for fighters, but also great for people who are just fight fans or want to have a good interval timer to go with their workout.
That's awesome. And the big push with the Catalyst grant is really 2 things: 1, be innovative, and then 2, connect with industry. And so you got a good contact with UFC at this point.
Absolutely, it was great. And the other great part about this grant is I love it with a programmer out of Reno. And so and I've learned a ton about programming and stuff I never thought I was going to have to know. But they've been fantastic work with. So it was great. This idea has been in my head a long time. And to be able to bring it to fruition through this program it's been very beneficial. Again, working with people within the state and economic development in the state, and something that I'm interested in. It's been a learning experience, and ironically enough, it's actually it's beneficial because of COVID, because it's the type of thing that I can do from home. And so we didn't have to have a lot of subjects. It was really more theoretical development, and I was very fortunate to put together a good team, and it's been a great experience even during this kind of strange COVID time.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, Brian, you've done a great job in terms of that. And when we had the opportunity to grant you the to award you with the Catalyst grant, it was a no-brainer to want to work with you and see how your research and innovation would progress. So we're very happy to hear that you're moving forward, and even through these, as we always say, these uncharacteristic times, right, or unprecedented times, and to be able to still move forward just shows the resilience of you and your team, and we really appreciate that.
It's like I said, like I said, circumstances come together sometimes, and it works out for good. And this case definitely worked out for good.
Well, and I know you're close to, really finalizing that app, or at least getting to a point where people can start using it. So that's going to be exciting to see that.
Yeah. There's a single user so far. It's me, but it works great, and it works on iOS and on Android. So I think we're going to be kicking it off very, very soon. Within the next couple of weeks, I think it's going to be released.
That's awesome. All right, so I told you I'd keep you in for 10 to 15 minutes. Believe it or not, we are already at almost 12 minutes. So
wow.
The time, I know, it just flies by. So just a couple of quick things. I just want to check, go back, think back, loving hearing this work that you're doing on the app and the work you're doing with first responders. But just go back in time. And what drew you to academics and research? I know you talked about, colleagues that you have, but what was it that really pushed you in this direction?
I was undersized. I came from a small town that was big on football. So I was always like interested in training, like how do I get bigger and how not to get, destroyed playing football. And like I said, I was able to go to college, and I had some great young professors at Winona State in southeastern Minnesota. And they're fresh out of their PhDs, but they were still enthusiastic and they loved what they did. I'm a first generation college student, so like I didn't know that they're getting a PhD was just so foreign to me. But one of my professors said to me, you ask a lot of questions. You should really go to graduate school.
I love it.
So I said, well, okay, what does that look like? And then he said, well, you find research that you want to do, because that's what you got to. That's what the questions you're asking. So I literally picked up the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research and I paged through it, and I said, Mike Stone at Appalachian State. First of all, where the heck is Appalachian State? And sure enough, that was the guy that was doing what I wanted to do. So I packed up my stuff and moved down there. And Mike was a great mentor, great friend of mine. He just opened a lot of doors for me, and that kind of it just kept snowballing from there. Then it was like, okay, now I came to this point really where I was like, am I going to be a strength coach or get a PhD? I didn't know. I didn't really know the answer. I applied to be the head strength coach at the Lake Placid Training Center. I didn't get the job. It's like, well, guess that's God's way of telling me to go get a PhD. So I did, and I never looked back. Now when you get older, you can say, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. But I really love academics. I've made great friendships. I love teaching. I love seeing people that are passionate about getting an education and putting it to work. So it's been very rewarding.
I love it. And you do a great job.
Great story.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
is a great story. So, all right. So now part of this is to get to know you beyond your research. So what do you enjoy doing outside of work? What are some of your hobbies?
Being a physiologist, ironically enough, I'm kind of mechanical in my spare time. So, I like building hobby cars, and I've been doing that. My dad was a hobby car guy. So, I've been building cars and getting my fingers greasy for long periods of time. So I really enjoy that. I did a little bit of construction.
What kind of car are you working on now?
Yeah, I have a 1957 International pickup. And believe it or not, I've had that since I was 15 years old. So for 30 years, I've owned this truck.
Wow.
Yeah, and I learned to drive on it, 3-speed on the column. And then I decided I was going to hot rod it. And then, of course, I got distracted by this whole educational process and amongst other things and family and everything else. So now my dad is retired, and we're in the process of working on it, getting it roadworthy again. And fingers crossed, if the economy bounces back in the next couple of years, it'll be on the road, and I'll be driving it around the streets of Las Vegas.
That's awesome.
That is. I almost got an International Harvester to restore, but then I was like, I don't have that skill set. I mean, that's really impressive what you're able to do.
My dad's doing a lot of the work now that he's retired, but and he's one of those guys that's just always been mechanical. He was a mechanic for a long time, so I learned a lot for sure, and I know at least which end of the screwdriver to hold on to. So.
Well, Brian, and you've sent pictures, and I love seeing them. So that's really great. Hey, this has been great to talk with you about your research.
Absolutely.
Involved with academics and research, and a little bit more outside of work. So thanks for taking the time to do this.
Glad to be here.
Brian, thank you so much.
All right, I'm gonna sign off. Thanks, everybody.
All right, buddy. Thank you.